Today, the Fed set to finish its two-day meeting with a likely interest rate increase, which would only be the second increase in 8 years. So the question becomes, how many more rate increases are on the horizon? What does it mean for those of us who are average investors? Joe Krier, president of Krier Wealth Management, back here on the morning.
Hey, Bruce.
Good to have you here. So the bottom line is, this isn't going to change the world, but it does affect millions. How?
Oh, it definitely does, because, you know, these low interest rates, they go all the way back to the crisis of 2008. So the Feds had kept things abnormally low just to kind of keep the economy on life support, keep the banks in business, you know, and hopefully stimulate the housing market and everything else. And people have been saying, my gosh, when are they going to, you know, have enough confidence in the economy to get going? So it's a positive sign. Some people say it's way overdue.
Well, let's talk about some of the good news and what this signals.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the biggest thing is that the Fed, they have two jobs. One is to try to maintain full employment, and the other is to control inflation. So they haven't raised interest rates because unemployment's taken a while to get where it is now. We're essentially back at full employment. You know, wages may not be where people want them to be, but the employment picture is where they want it. And now the Fed's saying, hey, the economy is strong. We better start raising rates to maybe normalize things. They've been a little too low. All of us know we've been getting nothing in our savings accounts and CDs and things. So as they raise rates, all the other rates that layer on top of that start to go up as well.
Now, what do you think about the future? Does this increase that more are on the horizon?
It does, and you know, the economist poll that's ongoing says that maybe there's 3 or 4 more rate increases coming in the next year. And today they're just going to go a quarter point. So they're not going to suddenly, you know, make our credit card bills double or anything like that. But this is the beginning of a trend. And when the Fed starts, what they like to do is every other month, maybe for a year or two. And in this case, it's seen as a real positive development.
How about the Trump factor?
There is a pretty healthy Trump factor in there. And as you know, in the last month, the markets seem to have gone a little bit berserk. The Dow's approaching 20,000 all of a sudden. And there's a bit of a problem, and that is that 80% of all recessions tend to occur in the first year of a presidential cycle. What we do know about Trump is he's talking about making a lot of changes in a hurry, and sometimes that can destabilize an economy, maybe even induce a recession. So Janet Yellen is out there, and today at 2:30 she'll have a press conference, and she's going to say, well, we have to see how the Trump changes affect things, and we'll make determinations based on that going forward.
She could be one of the Trump changes.
She could be, and you know, there's some rumors that he's kind of elbowing around there. I think he'd probably be well served to have some stability there, and the Federal Reserve is thought to be independent of the White House and Congress, and you know, we know there's a lot of overlap in Washington. There's no way to avoid it, but keeping these two separate, she was a very popular choice when she was nominated, approved by both sides, you know, of Congress. So keeping that in there, if he bumped her out and put someone in who is super aggressive, you know, it could turn into a wild ride for us.
Just have 10 seconds left, yes or no? People have a false sense of security because the Wall Street markets are at record highs?
I think not. You know, there's one thing where a market goes straight up for 5 years. In this case, it's gone sideways for 3 and finally just bumped out of a range. So that's a little bit different of market action.
All right, have to wait and see. Jen.